All right. Welcome, welcome, one and all. It's good to be here with you this afternoon, and I'm looking forward to a good conversation. You know me, I don't necessarily set up to make friends and influence people. So, Clody, straight out of the gate, let me unmute you. How are you, sister?
I'm good. Oh my God, you can't imagine how many times, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yep.
Okay. You cannot imagine how many times I was saying amen, amen, amen. I love you, brother. Amen. Yes, yes, I love you. Yes, yes, amen. God bless you. It was, for me, the best speech that I've ever heard. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. And
You're breaking up a little bit.
blowing.
Hold on, you're breaking up a little bit, Clody. All right. Well,
Sorry about that.
it's kind of garbled. We're gonna everybody pray that Clody's internet works even better.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can hear you, but let's see if it's any better. I get that you appreciated it.
Yeah. let's go, Betty, and I'm gonna come back later.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Hey there, Betty.
And everybody.
I got you.
Yeah, I can say the same. Amen, amen, amen. I mean, Clody always says that the one that you just gave is the best.
Yeah.
So what does that mean, Clody? He's getting better and better, or what?
I know.
Anyway, when you were all through you were talking, here, I can't talk today. I'm so excited because my little great grandson that some of y'all have been praying for is now out of ICU and
little Levi
revived. And I'm so excited I can hardly speak. But talking about what you.
Hold on, I lost you. I didn't touch it. I think you bumped your mute.
Yeah, I was doing hand gestures and nobody can see me. And I touched my mute.
Okay.
Teachers do that.
Yep.
No, what I was thinking of off and on the whole time is, what does God want? What does Hashem want?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you look at the word Yerushalayim, does this not mean that God sees peace?
Certainly is one of the alternatives, and I think that that's probably the goal, the ultimate goal. I hope it is.
I do too. And if we think about it, creation, it was, everything was devastation, and then Hashem came on the scene and turned it into light and beauty, and I would say peace.
Yeah.
And then we messed it up again.
Mm-hmm.
So what's going to happen at the end of the time, as you were reading in Isaiah, to me, it's going to go back to where it was in the beginning. And so it's like the whole world is sandwiched between the beginning peace and end peace. And in the middle, we're just trying to work things out.
Yeah.
And do the best that we can, hopefully.
I agree.
But I love the Jewish concept of tikkun olam, which is to repair the world. And I mean, I'm sitting here, looking outside. It's a beautiful day here in Southwest Louisiana. And I'm thinking, okay, well, what can I do?
Yeah.
For tikkun olam? What can I do?
Mm-hmm.
All I can do is try to spread light and speak peace in my own way. I'm only one little person.
And be light.
And be light.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I've told many of you, when I was a little girl, we used to sing this song, This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine.
Yeah.
Some of you probably know that. We can't put it under a bushel, whatever. I didn't know what a bushel was, but we have to let our light shine. And to me, I guess that's what we need to do. And I actually wrote a song called Be a Light, and it's printed somewhere in an old timey Church of Christ hymnal. So anyway, that's just my mantra, be a light.
That's a
But
good one.
thank you for today, because is it not true that our life is a dichotomy? We, from one extreme to the other, we have our ups and downs and everything, but try to seek peace and joy in the midst of it all.
I agree.
That's just my little sermon for today.
Good little sermon. That's a good one. Well,
thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Betty.
You're welcome always.
And like you, I'm rejoicing over the good news. I think when you first sent that note, I was looking forward to a good report, and
Yes.
my mother was with me, and I guarantee you that a lot of people were praying for Levi, and
I know.
we're all happy for you and with you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And we'll
Thank you. I'm overjoyed.
And we'll
Baruch
keep
Hashem.
praying. We'll keep praying for him, because I know.
Yeah, because one of the issues that can come up later because of the blood issue that he had is liver damage, kidney damage.
Yeah.
And we just pray that will just be taken away, that his little body can handle it.
Absolutely. I'm with you. All right, sister.
Thank you. Thank you, Ross.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One of the things that I wanted to bring up, and I hope, I want people to have freedom to talk about whatever, but if you notice, even though we have certain things in the news and people are probably very opinionated about that one way or the other, I promise you that the current situation with Iran and the current situation between Russia and Ukraine and Hezbollah, and you go on to various African countries, and our world, this is bigger than just one conflict. And I'm not taking sides, and I am taking sides. I'm taking a side that challenges myself and my personal views. And it just so happens, and I'm thankful to have friends who are willing to listen to my view, because I think everybody really longs for peace. I mean, I want to think that. I do know that the world has always had bad actors, and so I didn't offer today's class as a solution to the world's woes. I'm not smart enough for that, and I don't have enough pull for that. But it reminds me of a story some of you probably have heard in this little Jewish shtetl, kind of a hard word for me to say. This little blind man was walking the cobblestone streets of his place, and he carried with him a lantern, and it was at night. And someone walked up to him and said, this is my version. I don't know how accurate it is to the original story, but what are you carrying a lantern for? You're blind. You can't see. And he said, oh, the light is not for me. It's for other people. In other words, his world didn't change. He did what he did day in and day out, and he just walked through life. But he carried the lantern for other people. And I think, if at least the way I understand this, that we're all in a world where trouble surrounds us. And I don't know that we can fix anything except ourselves. It's like any relationship. We have to work on ourselves. And tikkun olam, which Betty brought up, which means literally to fix the world or repair the world, is something that begins individually and so forth. So that's all we have to do, is we have to figure out how we can, even if we're blind ourselves, carry a light maybe to help somebody else. All right, let's see if Clody is back on. Clody, let's try it now.
Let's try it. Can you hear me
Oh, yeah, that is beautiful. Now.
better?
Yep.
I hope the video doesn't ruin it.
All right,
If
let's
it
try it.
ruins it, we will take it off.
It's working.
Okay, so I'm a little bit calmer now because
Okay.
I was very enthusiastic.
All right.
That really, this was by far one of the best speeches I've ever heard. Not only from you, I mean, in total.
Thank
And
you.
I want to thank you. And I have been pondering a lot on this peace and this love of thy neighbor thing as well. And it looks like my dreams are a little bit prophetic.
Mm.
And I have been trying to keep my lantern. And I have been trying to say that yes, but even though we do understand how one party is a little bit more obscure, that doesn't mean that we should support wars.
Mm-hmm.
And when I used to say that, people call me naive and utopian and idealistic and you're not in your right mind and so
Yeah.
on. But I believe the way that you pose the whole thesis of peace today was mind-boggling, mind-blowing because you started from the Bible, through the Bible. And I'm going to share one of my experiences when the
Okay.
7th of October happened. And actually even the Twin Towers.
Mm-hmm.
I was on my 20s back then, or 19, I don't remember. I remember that I was understanding how the fanatics of each religion will do these things.
Mm-hmm.
I've read Quran, I've read the Bible, and I know that if people are set on following by the letter without judgment, they can argument their ways into killing
Absolutely.
and murder and chaos and destruction of half of the world, or
Yeah.
even more.
Yes.
Or even more. But I believe that we've come at a point of history now that people should understand that you can choose your narration or the narrative in which you want to live your life supported by.
Yes.
You can choose it. You can read your way out of any of the narratives that are posed as propagandas or as set truths or as traditions, because traditions are really, really strong.
Yeah.
And I really cannot stress the thank you enough today. I'm gonna share this beautiful class today whenever I can, wherever I can, with whoever is ready to listen a little bit more than 5 minutes.
Well,
Because
I appreciate that. Yeah.
and I still want to thank you for the accent that you put to love and how this cannot happen because, I mean, peace should be chased, and this cannot happen because we intellectually chose so, because we are enlightened and we are very smart.
Mm-hmm.
That light does not come from the brain. That comes from the heart.
Yeah.
That's the only lantern I believe that we need to light.
I love it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let me just add on to that. I too have studied not studied. I've read the Quran, and we often look at the radicals of Islam, let's say, and we say, that's just crazy, and it's their religion that drives that. And there are memes everywhere that say, it's rare that you see a Pentecostal do something vicious like this, and it's rare that you see a Jewish person do something, but the Muslims this and the Muslims that. But yet we have people within Islam, like the Imam of Peace is the guy's call letters. I don't know what his I forget his name, but you can look him up. He's on various forms of social media. The Imam, IMAM of Peace. And he is he is a Muslim. But yet, what he says, and this is not doing justice to what he says, because he speaks out against radicalism in his faith. But he's a faithful man. He is a man of faith. He believes, he seems to believe in his religion. But he also has a sensible, sane interpretation, and he looks at some of these texts, the hadiths and various rules of law that might encourage more radicalism, and he says, we can't do this, Well, I was very easily brought to his side, and I remember thinking when I first came across his material, I wish all Muslims would believe like he does, and I do. But yet I still had certain radical elements in me. And the hardest thing to do, I assume for everybody, but I'll just use me, is to consider the other. Meaning, I can't stress, look, I know not everybody's going to agree with me, and what took me so long to come on is my good friends John and Lyndon were in here, and we had a good back and forth, and some of the things that some of you are thinking, like, just like you said, people say, well, that's a utopian view, and what do you do when you have a guy like Hitler or Khamenei or Mao Zedong, or, what do? You just turn the other cheek, and that's what got us into this mess. I'm realistic enough to say, well, I don't know that I have the answer. I mean, I know I don't. But I think that somehow there's got to be a tipping point, and maybe that comes if we read the prophets. I like Bob Dylan, and Dylan says, if the Bible is right, the world will explode. Now that's tragic, but maybe, God forbid, maybe we have to suffer enough until everybody says, I can't do this anymore. We can't do this anymore. So what really hit me this week, I mean, like more than I've ever been caused to reflect internally. Never in my life have I had to do what I did this week. And I tamed it down, I promise you, from where I was at inside. Not for any other reason that I didn't want to get so emotional that I couldn't logically present the case. But when I tell you at 18, screaming about killing, and that's what made you a man. I mean, I was in the military, and I was told, these people want to kill you. You have to learn to train to be ready to kill those people. And as a young boy, a young man, I was ready. I think I was ready. But here's the sadness of all this. I loved my time in the military. I needed that to discipline me, I think. And it wasn't because I wasn't brought up disciplined. My mother disciplined me, but I'm saying there was a point where I transitioned into manhood, and it was framed by my experience in the military. So I've been conditioned to think a certain way. And with that, I also have the Bible, the whole Bible. But the more I look at the Bible, the deeper I dig, the more I realize that it presents alternatives. For instance, in the book of Malachi, the last word from the prophets says that God will send Elijah, who will turn the hearts of the fathers to the sons and the sons to the fathers, lest I smite the earth with a carom. Now, carom is the word I focused on today. It means an utter destruction. So there is either or. Now, the Bible doesn't say both have to happen. It says either this is going to happen or this is going to happen. So that means, at least in my understanding, that maybe we do have some input. Now, what's one person going to do? I don't, probably not a lot, but you know, the old saying is you can't fix the world, but you might be able to fix one person's world. I'm more inclined today to look for opportunities to come out and help rather than harm, to advocate peace rather than support war. I love my country. A lot of that is because of being brought up in a very patriotic way. You know, from a little boy, put my hand over my chest. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, you know, and so forth. I want to see myself as a patriot, but I tell you, I've also challenged myself to think that we're not perfect. Americans are not perfect. You've probably experienced good and bad because you've traveled. You lived in different worlds under different leadership. We ought to be a beacon. I mean, really, even if it's a self-proclaimed task. And how do we do that? I want to say that 2 weeks ago I said, and that is what we're doing. We are a beacon. And in some ways, maybe, but I have to make myself think about, are we doing enough to promote the good? Have we done too much to advance the bad? You know, and even within our country, it's ultimately and very much divided politically, you know, and religiously and so forth and so on. My experiences in the military 2 weeks ago, up until 2 weeks ago, I couldn't have imagined that any of those did any harm to me. Did you just lose my camera?
Yes, we lost it.
Can you hear me though?
We can hear you.
All right. Well, I'm going to keep talking, and I'll text my magic man to fix that. But at the same time, I know that there are some bad things that I've picked up along the way too. Let me send Seth a note. All right. So anyway, but I just want you to know that, first of all, I appreciate the kind words, but I was, as much as anything, talking to myself today, because this last week has really been a challenge. So again, I want people to think broader than the current problems that we have, and think about throughout history. Like I did a search. I was just interested to see what are some of those things, how many people have died as a result to war throughout time, you know, and since we've kept good records. And it's unbelievable. I'm telling you, like, I had no idea because I've never really thought about it. I've tried not to think about it, maybe. So anyway, good stuff. Thank you, Clody. Yep.
I wanted to I'm sorry, Ovi.
Oh, that's okay.
Just one last thing. I as I was listening today, I was thinking of that, and Brother Sanderson, I believe, tale of the emperor's new clothes.
Yeah.
They all believed or tried to believe that the emperor had beautiful clothes,
Mm-hmm.
believing it, trying
Mm-hmm.
to believe it, until one honest voice said that he is not wearing anything.
Yeah. Yep.
And I believe that that's how important honest, humane voices are.
Yeah. And I didn't want to come across as being self-righteous, like I have it all figured out. I certainly don't. But I'm certainly willing now to consider and to think about, you know, maybe in my zeal, thinking that, you know, I had it all figured out, to at least think about things from a different perspective. And we always look for ways to vindicate our position. And some of those vindications are quite good, actually. You know, we can say, well, surely we overthrow this particular person. But I tell you, I've had to really rethink some things. That's all I'm saying. And I continue to think some things through. So.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. Brother OV.
Greetings.
How are you?
I'm doing good. Despite the fact that I spend too much time watching what's happening in the world right now.
I know it.
I'm kind of waiting on books here. I got the Oxford handbook on the prophets and another couple books on Isaiah that are in the mail. Until I get them, I can't really do too much on the religious side. So it's mainly
Right.
politics here. But I think the whole thing about just the frame on war, it's like just the peace or war type thing. It's like there's alternatives to either of those.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, wars are conducted by one tribe against another, whether it's a country against a country or whether it's a smaller tribe against another tribe and it's a civil war or something. It's one group against another where it's I'll defend my group right or wrong no matter what.
Yeah.
And anytime you get into that situation, there's somebody above that's being the puppet master and pulling the strings on both sides, getting them to fight. And we never notice that.
Yeah.
There's a term for it. It's called problem, reaction, solution.
Mm-hmm.
And they create a problem which causes the people to react in a specific way that says, oh, please. And then they come up with a solution that will solve the problem
That they created
in the first place. And we go, oh, thank God for that.
Yeah.
And then we don't see that, oh, there's all these unintended consequences that make it worse than where we were in the first place, right?
Yeah.
And being able to like observe that without reacting is I think where we have to go with this and how to get there. It's like I don't have a clue. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm waiting a few thousand years for this
Right.
human race to grow up, and we're just not seeing it progress very fast.
Right.
But there's a time to comply and a time not to comply,
Mm-hmm.
which got left right out of Ecclesiastes.
Yeah.
War and peace, right? And peace means comfort. And it's like, well, we all get addicted to comfort and we'll do anything to stay within our comfort zone. And I mean, once we're in that situation, we're just led by whoever controls our comfort.
Right.
But this comply and not comply is a difficult thing because it's much more than just being a contrarian. Because, I mean, ideally, most of the time, you want to be in a situation where you do comply because it just makes it easier for everything to go that way. And when things are going that way and it's going for the good, that's a good thing. I mean, if you have to think through to the nth degree every damn thing you do, nobody's going to have a chance to get anything done.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think if we could get back to where elders have time to think about things and people respect elders, and the younger people, they're too busy creating a life for themselves and their family that they really don't have time to think, and they don't have the knowledge yet, and they're still learning. But if there was more of a cooperative effort between elders and upcomers, but we lost that. I don't know when we lost that, but I think we need to get back to that. And I'll just end there before I pontificate on and on and on. But I think those are big elements. Well, one more thing I'll bring up.
Okay.
Is the difference between a functional and a dysfunctional. I mean, the system might be really good. Like the system that we got here on Earth right now, in terms of what everybody believes is the way things work with our representative democracy and governments working the way they're supposed to, and that, I think that's a pretty decent system. The trouble is that's not at all the way this world runs, because it's so damn corrupted that there's a two-tier system where there's a certain class of people that get to operate above the law and do whatever they want without suffering the consequences. And the rest of us just stick our head in the sand because we don't want to deal with the discomfort of dealing with that. So it's like, instead of putting down a system, recognizes it in a functional mode or a dysfunctional mode. I mean, sometimes the system is bad.
Right.
And sometimes it's just dysfunctional, which is the difference between we have to come up with something different or we just have to fix what we got. And each of them is different strategies. But I don't see very much talk about looking at things from that perspective. So I'll just throw that out there.
No, good points. And that's the main thing that, like, I'm like you, I think that there are some very good and positive things in our system. And I think any system and every system ought to look at themselves and try to figure out what's working, what's not working, what's beneficial, what's not beneficial. And, but I've had to rethink some things because, like you described, I think at one point, for most of my life, I've kind of had this view that, hey, we're right, and I think that, and again, I'm not talking about just focusing on the current system. I'm trying to figure out how should I think about certain things that I see going on around me. So it's really just a matter of me trying to sort through the world in which I live, and I'm certainly not the only one who's ever thought about this, and I'm not saying that we can solve it, or I certainly can't solve it on my own, but I think it's important that we try to think about it and do what we can to, at least in our own little way, carry that torch, maybe even if we're blind ourselves. Maybe it'll help somebody else. Good stuff, though. I appreciate you, OV, and I know what you mean about waiting for the next book to arrive. I've got a few in the mail, too, so.
Yeah, I got a big backlog.
I look forward to the mail person all the time, actually. All right, good stuff. Todd, and I guess, is it just Todd? Hey, Todd.
Nah, she's washing dishes.
Okay. Todd and Angel, but Todd right now.
I got her trained right.
I hear you. While she's out of
don't believe that.
I know. I'm not.
How you doing, brother?
I'm doing fine, my man.
I've got a different take on this,
All right.
and I dare anybody to test me on this.
All right. Well,
Okay, so
well, you just invited it, so go ahead.
that's right. You're dang right I invited it because I could back it up.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so here's the thought. All right, so when you ended off the class with No Time for War,
Mm-hmm.
that got the wheel to turning. Now, I had to oil it first, but it got the wheel to turning.
Right. That's, by the way, that's what it was supposed to do, whether it worked or not.
That's right. So what was, all right, so it's kind of a question, but it's kind of not a question. There is, in the Bible, there is an event that started war, period.
All right.
And it also started the reason for war.
All right, let's hear it.
Cain and Abel.
Mm-hmm.
Out of jealousy that was sparked by a superiority complex.
Okay.
Now think about that. Every war that's ever been done, whether it's biblical, whether it's current, or anything through history, what was it caused by?
Mm-hmm.
Jealousy or a superiority complex.
I'm following
Same
you.
thing that we're dealing with Iran right now. I mean, unfortunately, the Muslim hood is thrown into this because they're not like this, like what you said. But Islam, their whole thing is death to Israel, death to America. Well, there's your Jews and there's your Christians. Jealousy, because they're free. So why not have a superiority complex and force everybody to think the way you think with death as the result?
And by the way, it's not all Muslims that think like this guy.
No,
This is
no, it's
Imam of Peace.
No, you're right. There is that is 100% true.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know some Muslims, they don't act like that. I mean, they don't
Yeah.
think that way. You know, but you know, the Islam thing is just a complete ideal anyway. It's not so much a religion as it is more of it's I guess the Fourth Reich, maybe.
Well, let me throw one thing back at you, and then I want you to continue. But one thing that I'm thinking about, there is this idea, if you read the biblical account, so this is going to really press some buttons on people, but stick with me. If we read the biblical account, Abraham, he's got, you know, according to the Bible, Isaac is his boy. You know, and I use that in the modern sense. That's my boy. That's my favored son.
My boy.
And even in the biblical account, we read that Abraham shipped Ishmael off basically with his mama, and they might die in the desert. Here's you a canteen. Good luck. Now, nobody throw rocks or rotten tomatoes, but that is what it says. Now, if you look at Islam and the Quran, the Islamic view is that Ishmael was the favored. And so it does, in a way, go back to that, who's daddy's favorite. And so I've got on my pad, I keep a pad on my desk where I think about future classes to stir people up. It's not really called that, but that's what it does. But one of the things I wanted to do was if I could trace back the origin of the discontent, the origin of the difficulties, could it be in the holy books? Now, again, I know that this makes people say, I don't know if I like where this is going, but I do think that sometimes there's a song, and I'm not much into music. I don't know a lot of music. I know I use those examples in my teaching sometime because when a song strikes me, it usually strikes me because of my thinking. But Willie Nelson's son, I don't even remember his name, but he's also a musician. And one of the things that he taught or sang, one of his songs, and it's got one bad word in it. So if all of you who have virgin ears, you may not want to listen to this song, but it drops one bad word, and I won't give it to you here, but it's basically the song is to turn off the news and build a garden. And I'm telling you, the first time I heard that, I remember thinking, if we did that, like there's so many disputing, disparate voices that, if you listen to this station or you listen to that, whether you're left or right or whatever, whether it's intentional or not, it creates a hatred between parties that is almost insurmountable because we live in our own echo chamber and we just begin to think this is the way I'm supposed to think. But if we ever turned it off and we took some time to reflect, I think we would be further down the road. So it's kind of what you say. These different voices are meant to create that same tension you talk about that causes jealousy and superiority and so forth. So I'm with you is what I'm saying.
Well, it's like, Cody said I was generalizing Muslims. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the radical Islamic idea with the Sharia law and everything else. I mean, that is just, that's complete control.
Yeah.
Just like you would condemn any other cult.
Yeah. It's basically a worldwide cult.
Yeah.
And basically it's the way the rule is, wherever they set foot at that time, that belongs to them. I mean, look what they're trying to do to Texas. And that's not a religion. That's a complete just domination. That's like I said, it's, you had the Third Reich back in the 30s and 40s, and now here's the fourth one. And we're trying to defeat it, get it out of here. So by saying that, we don't want Sharia law here, does that make us, anti-religion, whatever? No. It's an idea. It's not a religion. And that's the whole thing about war. Anytime that you look at war, religion's always involved somewhere. Almost every time.
I agree.
It really is. Even back during I don't call it the Civil War, I call it the war between the states, because that's how I was raised down here in the South. Eventually, religion fought its way into it. It doesn't matter one way or the other. But the way I look at it is it started with Cain and Abel, and that was over jealousy that was sparked by superiority, because he thought that his should have been, his offering should have been the same. I still think they were swapped to push another agenda that we've talked about before. But that's just how I look at war in general. It's all about jealousy / greed with the superiority deal, and it's just who's going to stop it.
Well, it's again, I do, my whole life is the study of these ancient words, and it's a passion for me, and it's not just an intellectual exercise. I really want to live, and I think most of you do as well. I want to live my life in a way that pleases God. And if I read a text, whether I'm Christian or Jewish or Muslim or whatever, if I read a text or plural text, which seem to suggest that my ascendancy towards God involves bringing another group down or proving that I'm right and they're not right. And look, I'm I'm not saying that everybody's right. The old philosophy. I'm okay. You're okay. Everybody's got their own truth. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is I'm having to rethink certain things, that, sometimes when I look at the other, whatever the other is, I think, well, how much have I been affected, or maybe a better way to put it is infected with some things that probably aren't really pure or authentic or original to God. And those opportunities, I guess one of the main points today was we have a choice every day in our own lives to be kind or be hateful, to be nice or mean, to be, listed off.
Right.
And I think the more we and everyone focuses on the good. Now, again, but I'm also not, as I said, I can't quite put my head around this utopian idea. I'm not one of those turn the other cheek guys yet. I'm not good at that. If someone is an enemy, part of that's probably my training, not only in the military, but in life. But I think the goal is supposed to pressure us to do things which aren't easy. And that doesn't mean in my mind yet that we turn our blind eye to evils that are done in our own home or our own city or town or country or world. But anyway, I've had to think. I've had to think hard and do a lot of internal reflection for sure the last week, but it's really been going on longer than that.
Yeah. That's all I got, bro.
Good stuff. Let's go to the next person on the list, then. Hello, Terry. You should be able to unmute.
Do you see the chat? Do you see the picture I put in the chat?
Let me scroll back and see it. Obviously, I missed it. Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Have you ever seen that before?
No. Let me see.
This is
It's
from
a Latin. Yeah. All right.
But you see the carom?
Yeah, I see carom. What's on the top? What is the first word on the left?
I know the word underneath it is smite, obviously, and that's the translation. And then carom is utterly destroy.
Okay.
So this is on somebody's house in Pompeii, and he was a Jewish Christian, and they found a bunch of other stuff at his house. They found a Seder square, and it's actually kind of famous house. It's the baker's house. That's where they think there's the altar and then the hidden cross. But this was saved because of Pompeii. The volcano, obviously, and everything. Right. But whenever it was like a warning, like if we don't change our ways, we're going to end up like Sodom and Gomorrah, utterly destroyed. The carom.
Yeah.
And so I just thought it was very interesting that somebody before 79 AD had that on their doorway as a warning. We need to change, or else we're going to end up like Sodom and Gomorrah, and then they did.
Man, I tell you what, Terry, that might need to be on everybody's door, huh?
Right.
Yeah, it's something that I think the more that we reflect, and if you think about it, if you go back to that last verse in Malachi, it's sort of the same thing. Either we will turn the hearts of the fathers to the children and the children's to the fathers, lest the earth is smitten. I mean, it's sort of a spooky ending to a book that presents a choice. And I think that's one of the things that really struck me this week is our book, our holy book, has both. And in some ways, years ago I read a book called There's No Messiah and You're It. And the whole point of the book was that a lot of people are waiting on God to fix our world, and all along God's been waiting on us to fix it. And maybe there's somewhere in the middle that we have things we can do, and part of that is to really advocate for the right things. And I don't have to believe like someone else to wish them well. Anyway, what else, Brother Terry?
I did some. I spent a few hours, not a long time, sleuthing about about the Moses scroll may be, and I emailed you. You probably already have all of the references to the possible museums and everything, but I emailed it to you anyway.
Hey, keep them coming. Yeah, we have, our little team has quite a bit, but that doesn't mean that we've got it all. And obviously, if we had figured it out by now, we would be sharing that message. So, so keep them coming. And one thing I'm working on, because it's so vast, and like people have no idea, when I say I have literally hundreds of documents written in a lot of languages, I don't want to exaggerate, but let me just say, obviously, English, Hebrew, French, German, Russian, and there's quite a bit out there. So I'm now, because it's such a vast library of material that I've assembled, I'm using some pretty sophisticated tools to try to narrow that down. And so anything that you send, I would put in there as well. I'm not going to say I have everything. I've got a lot. And I've spent a lot of time not only on things that are public, but things that aren't public and things that haven't been public. We've had to pay to get those different items either digitized. I'm working closely with people or have in the past worked with people closely at the Palestine Exploration Fund in London. We have friends in Germany, in various organizations, libraries, and museums. And now we're even incorporating French and Russian documents that we didn't have before. So, you never know. The person that found the last known possessor of the 15 of the 16 leather strips was a friend of mine now. We're working with him. He's been on this many years before I ever even knew about Shapira. Matthew Hamilton, who lives in Australia. He's the one that found the reference to the last known possessor of the scroll fragments in an obituary notice in a journal of conchology from the early 20th century. And everyone before that had basically said it's almost like a needle in a haystack. But so my point is, your search may yield the clue that we're looking for. So
I thought I found something, and there was one entry that said Hebrew character, Philip Brooke Mason's massive collection, and it wasn't that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, there's a fun book that covers some of those kind of ideas. And look, we've had a lot of dead ends, but we've had a lot of good tracking going on over the years. And if you haven't read, I would recommend Hanan Tigay's book, The Lost Book of Moses, The Hunt for the World's Oldest Bible. He chases down some of these rules or some of these clues. Now, some of the things that he chased down and scratched off the list, I'm looking at again. So again, it's I don't want anybody to think, yeah, I've already seen. I don't want to ever come across Terry or anybody as saying, yeah, I looked at that. That's not it. Because look, it's a big world and there are a lot of things out there, and who knows? I think some people have quite possibly looked over it. I learn this every day with my wife. If I say, hey, where's the ketchup or whatever? It's on the top shelf, and I'm thinking, I already looked at the top shelf. Oh, there it is. Yeah, it's that big bottle with the ketchup written on it. So don't ever stop sending clues.
I mean, I'm sure you've gone as far as you can with Reverend Thornwell, right?
That's
But
the
I
one.
don't think
Yeah, that's the one I'm referencing. Thornwell, it was his. He's the one who gave the eulogy for Philip Brooks Mason.
right.
And so we have his references, and I've been to England and worked with a guy by the name of David Atkins, who believes that the fragments were buried with Philip Brooks Mason in a cemetery. I've been to that cemetery, and he's been really digging into the whole thing about Thornwell. And I'm not giving up that could be a possibility. We know about Thornwell. We know when he died. We know his heirs. We know we've traced some of that. But again, I'm looking at all that again now. So it's a big, big mystery. And I want to believe that the fragments are still there. The 15 that were last seen in Burton-on-Trent, England, and then the one fragment with 2 columns that went to Germany. So we're really tracking both legs, if you will. I do need time on the ground because, some things aren't digitized. And so I want to go back to Burton-on-Trent, and I want to spend some time in Europe. But we're not quite ready to do that yet.
I think you're going to find it. I think it's in a drawer mislabeled somewhere.
Man, I hope you're right, Terry. And I believe that too. I mean, that's one of the things that keeps me going. And I do have some things that I can't share yet, and I'm not trying to be sensational. I mean, literally, I don't have the freedom to say yet, but it could very well be that evidence will come forth in one of these libraries. So we do want to go to the British Library and look through their archives, as well as the British Museum, because one of the things that we know we need to track down, there are plates, meaning in the
Right.
1800s, they used glass plates, and when they photographed, the image would be captured in the glass plate, but the technology of printing that image wasn't such that you could get the detail. Whereas now the plate did take in the detail, and now we believe that we have the technology to bring those images out. So one of the hopes is that those plates at the British Museum and or library could be located, and then we could get some better pictures, and we could learn a lot, because all we have are artist renditions, and they don't always agree.
Right.
So...
Okay. Thanks
Yeah,
for the
man.
time today.
Hey, man, I appreciate you. Have a good
Yep.
one.
You too.
All right. Betty, let me bring you back up. Yes, ma'am.
Ross, I always have one more thing.
Yep.
And this is kind of in the form of a question.
Mm-hmm.
It has to do with what you brought out in your lesson earlier today when you were teaching, and you quoted from Malachi.
Uh-huh.
It was in the Hebrew Bible, it's 3.
Oh, yeah.
22 through, return the hearts of the children to the fathers. Let me just ask you, do you think it is important that actually it doesn't say hearts, it's singular, it's lev.
Mm-hmm.
Says he'll turn the heart of the fathers to the children and the children to the fathers. Maybe I'm just reading too much into it,
Mm-hmm.
but it
I don't know.
seems like as each heart is turned, then each heart becomes one with the other.
Yeah.
Or do you think that's even significant?
I think there are probably significant things like this that we ought to really meditate on. In fact, in that very chapter, it talks about those who meditate on, and call upon the name and so forth. I think there probably is something more to that. You may be on to the core of it, because obviously I see our current world is not on a path that would yield itself easily to the good In other words, I think both options are still on the table, and it's up to us to figure out, what does that mean? What does it mean, the heart of the fathers and the heart of the sons? What does that mean?
Well, I know there are different interpretations, and I don't really know which is right. They may all be right.
Yeah.
Some are the hearts, speaking of the heart of our ancestors, be turned to us and us back to them to go on the original way. And some interpretations I've read have to do with each individual family, with the father and the children.
Yeah.
That the children will teach, perhaps the children will begin teaching the fathers things that sometimes the fathers have missed.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but earlier in that same chapter, it talks about words,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yep.
I think our words. We mentioned, how can we do like tikkun olam, or repair the world? Well, I think our words are very significant in that. In verse, is it 16? He says, "Take words with you." Now I can't find it, but those who feared God spoke to one another.
Yeah.
And to me, that's what we're doing, are we not?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I feel like we are pretty much all of one heart or one accord. We may not believe exactly all the same doctrine, but is doctrine even that important?
Right.
To me, it's more important how we live our lives and how we treat one another.
Mm-hmm.
Just my opinion. But then in Hosea 14:2,
Right.
it's speaking to Israel, but to me, when it's speaking to Israel, I know it's Israel. But to me, I think it can be a broad teaching for all of us. Return to the Lord your God, for you've stumbled,
Yeah.
and take with you words. And then later it says that those who dwell in his shadow are the ones who will be blessed, and the ones who will return and like sit under your own fig tree. So to me, it's just a combination of what's in our heart, what comes forth out of our heart, what we speak, how we live. Just practical things.
No, I think you're right. And I didn't really dive deep into this. In fact, I'm gonna let you wrap us up today, because I'm gonna take off early this afternoon. But I did want to say this one thing, and maybe it's for a future class, and that is this idea that Micah envisions. And I know there are various ways to take this. So again, I'm not trying to be the captain of all heresies today. But Micah 4 also includes that text. Each will walk in the name of his God,
Yes.
but we will walk in the name of Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, our God, and so forth. Well, it's worth thinking about. Everybody feels like their religion, they have the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, and the other guy or gal is unfortunately a pagan, a heretic, or just someone who's not yet been brought into the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. But it's certainly given me pause, and I think about this, and a lot of things have brought me to this point. It's like Isaiah 45, where God is talking through the prophet Isaiah. And he talks about Cyrus and how, he called him by name and so forth. Well, when we find the Cyrus cylinder written in cuneiform, and he refers to that same calling, but he says he's working for Marduk. And I know that scares people, but it's something I'm honestly saying. I think about, what are these other people? It's something we ought to think about. How is it? I've heard people argue that Allah is the name of a pagan god. And anyone who studies Semitic languages knows that it's very similar etymologically to Eloah,
Right.
Elohim,
Yes.
Allah. And, you know, so anyway, we're quick to point the finger and say the other guy's poor and miserable and blind and naked. And I think maybe we ought to look in the mirror, and maybe our world is waiting on enough people to do some self-reflection, and maybe just maybe turn off the news and plant a garden, which, by the way, that's this afternoon after preaching to myself. I'm going to surprise Bridget and show up and help her in her garden. It's Sunday afternoon. I've got a couple of hours of daylight, and I think that's what I want to do.
For you. Well, I'm going to work on my patio garden this afternoon.
Beautiful, beautiful.
It always gives me pleasure. I love to be outside amidst the flowers and the plants, and it's peaceful. So,
Well, I agree. And I want to tell everyone, I thank everyone for joining me. And I left the YouTube audience going the whole time as well. And I appreciate that people would take the time to discuss these things with me. And I look forward to next week. Who knows what we're going to get into next week? But I promise you it will be something that I think a lot about and I study. And so I look forward to seeing everyone next week. Have a beautiful day and a beautiful week, and we'll see you then.
thank you, Russ. Appreciate you.
Thank you.